I gotta go with the best, Okay. You all ready? Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the City Commission meeting of December 30th, 2019, and the time is 5:01 p.m. And we will start with a moment of silence, as we always do, and as we enter into the new year. Hopefully we have a lot to be thankful for and consider those in need. Madam President, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Johnson, are there any additions, deletions, or reorganization of the agenda?
Yes, Mayor. Item number 9 is being removed from the agenda. That's resolution number 416-19, approving a second amendment to the Economic Development Incentive Grant Agreement between the City Sterling Organization and 302 Datura Office, LLC.
So we're pulling that,
Yes,
and it's not being continued at this time?
it's being pulled and it will not be brought back.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's dive right in. First item is number one, appointment. City Commission approval is requested for the mayor's reappointment of Jennifer B. Loyalist to the Criminal Justice Advisory Committee for a term of 2 years to expire August 16, 2021. Ms. Loyalist has served over the maximum allowed number of terms, 3, and it is required the City Commission confirms her reappointment. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Hearing none, we do have one card. Sandy Makovich.
Sandy Makovich, West Palm Beach. It's directed at the commissioners. The mayor appoints or reappoints somebody to some commission, to something at City Hall. I don't know a thing about Jennifer B. Loyalist, nothing about the Criminal Justice Advisory Committee, but you're asked to approve her for a 2-year term. She served over the maximum allowed number of terms, which is 3. I have never, ever, ever heard a commissioner at these meetings ever question one of the mayor's appointments or reappointments. Never. Some of these people, like on the DAC, the DDA, they've been on it for years. They've been on it for years because they vote for what this mayor, the mayor before him, which is Mayor Muyo, what they want, they approve. That's what they do, they approve it. But you guys never question it. Why? You just automatically appoint whoever he says. I mean, he's written in a text, and we all read it, when somebody in management didn't agree with him. In fact, it was about the police department. No, it was about the security system, the security people. And his text was, does he forget who appoints his board? Wrote that in the text. That don't bother you people? That to me is a threat. Does he forget who appoints his board? No, we don't forget. It's the same people over and over. And I'd appreciate it if you commissioners would once in a while challenge his appointments. Thank you.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve a reappointment of Jennifer B. Loyalist to the Criminal Justice Advisory Committee.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none.
I would
Okay.
just like to say, I personally know Ms. Loyalist and have worked with her probably for over a decade with her work with our Public Defender's Office, and think she's a great addition, or a great, not addition, but a great member of the committee. So I'm glad to see her reappointed.
Thank you, Madam President. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? There is none. Motion carries unanimously. We will now go on to comments from city commissioners. Madam President.
Thank you, Mayor. Want to start by just saying, hope everybody enjoyed the holiday season and is still enjoying. I know we have a light commission agenda today, partly due to that, but wanted to share with everyone that I had the opportunity to attend an event that I might not normally attend, which was the annual lighting of the menorah at the Hanukkah festival held by Rabbi Gantz, and it was held at the Palm Beach Outlets. Hundreds of residents and families came out to celebrate the start of Hanukkah, and it was really a beautiful event in our city. So it was an honor to be there. Our state attorney, Dave Ehrenberg, was also there, and it was just a beautiful event going on in our community, and great to see so many people celebrating together. I have a few items that I just wanted to make sure that our city administrator and mayor and my fellow commissioners know are important to me, and that I'm keeping up to date with staff through our city administrator, but just want to make sure we don't lose track of community meetings and outreach related to parking in our historic neighborhoods along South Flagler. I know that there's just constant outreach from our residents telling us about the parking issues, and I know that our staff is working on that, and that we'll be doing some community outreach soon, so I just want to make sure that that stays top of mind. In addition to that, I know we had a workshop that was scheduled 2 weeks ago that maybe had to be canceled because of the holidays. One of those items, 2 items, which were extremely important to me. One is the golf course, which I know we're going to have some discussion on soon, but the other was the community outreach and communication plan internally, and so I just want to make sure that we don't lose sight of that as well, because I know that I receive a number of emails from residents, and our follow-up with them on their responses are very important. And then finally, just an item that is important to the south end that I've been hearing from residents about, and this is the Crystal building that's on South Flagler Drive. And I appreciate through City Administrator Faye Johnson that I have received an update, and I've shared that with residents, but I just ask that staff keep us updated. What's happening is there's been a little bit of stall in the project there, and so a few things that I'm concerned about, that our residents are concerned about, that we want to make sure we keep an eye on, which is the site secure? If there's not activity every day as far as construction, that we're making sure that kids or others aren't using the site as it's not intended. Make sure that it's not being overgrown, that it's keeping up to code compliance. And then also just maintaining contact with the developer, that we're paying extra attention to this property, because I think that the residents are very concerned, and I'd welcome any updates if we have any.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, real quickly.
Yes.
Rick Green, Assistant City Administrator. We discussed at staff meeting, we heard the developer did seek additional financing, so our hope is that he'll be starting right away. But your comments are noted, and we'll follow up.
Okay, and when you say he sought additional financing, he received it?
Received it, yes.
Okay, super.
Yes, it's what I've heard
Okay.
as of this morning.
Super, thank you. And then finally, just ending on a good note, the Palm Beach County League of Cities, of which I'm a board member, is offering for the first time a $1,000 scholarship. It is not only for high school seniors, but also for municipal employees. And so it's for folks who are interested in a career in governmental, public service, or public administration. And I just would encourage anybody who's interested in going back to school or going to school to get into public life. check out the League of Cities website for a $1,000 scholarship opportunity. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Commissioner Naren.
Thanks, Mayor. No comments.
Commissioner Schoaf.
Thank you, Mayor. I too hope everyone had a very happy holiday season and got to spend some time with friends and family and have many wishes for the new year. I especially want to acknowledge our Jewish community, and I'm very thankful Commissioner Lambert got to go out to the menorah lighting. I think it's especially important because the Jewish community over the past few days have had a string of anti-Semitic attacks on individuals who are simply doing what many of us have been doing, which is celebrating the customs of our faith. This kind of hate has no place in our world, and certainly not in this city. And we here in West Palm Beach are not immune to these bigoted beliefs. And these fears thrive in darkness and the unknown. So as elected officials, as neighbors, as community members, we have the responsibility to shine the light, to drive out the hate into the light and speak out very loudly and quickly, so that these acts of terror and bigotry will absolutely not be tolerated in our communities, not today and not any day. So I guess you might ask yourself, what can be done? I think joining together is number one. Work with the Anti-Defamation League, partner with the Palm Beach County Jewish Federation. They have a Jewish Community Relations Council, the JCRC, that helps foster understanding and champion a place of just and pluralistic society. So local partnerships are already in place. Upcoming, the MLK Coordinating Committee has partnered with Rabbi Cookie and Temple Israel for the Interfaith Freedom Shabbat. You can join this service on January 17th at 6:30, Temple Israel, 1901 North Flagler Drive. But mostly, have a conversation with someone who doesn't look like you, who doesn't worship like you, but mostly is human like you. And I think we'll all have a better world. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner, for those words. Happy holidays to everyone. I hope they had a Merry Christmas, and I know we're in the middle of Hanukkah as well as Kwanzaa, and are enjoying a family, faith, and friends, and an early Happy New Year to everyone. In 2 days, we will be celebrating the onset of a new decade, which is kind of scary to think about it, 2020. And just because of the holiday season, please note the changes to the sanitation, the trash pickup schedule. I know in my community, we had a number of garbage cans that were placed out by the curb expecting pickup on Christmas, which obviously didn't happen. So the schedule is on our website, and that's all I have. Okay, consent calendar, items 2 through 6. Any questions, concerns, commissioners? If not, I will entertain a motion for approval.
Mayor, move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, there are none. Motion carries unanimously. On the comments from the public, we do have a card. Sandy Makovich.
Sandy Metcalf, West Palm Beach. This concerns the DAC, Downtown Action Committee. On November 13th, I attended that meeting. I was there along with a couple of dozen other people. What I have are the minutes from that meeting, signed, okay? So let's start at the end. Please be advised the minutes are not verbatim, not even close, not even close. I want to discuss CRC number 1908, a city-initiated request for a text amendment, blah, blah, blah. The chair opened the floor to public comment. The next line, no members of the public came forward for public comments. There's about 24 of us there speaking. Mr. David Felton seconded the motion. The motion passed 7-0. I believe it was Brad McPherson. I don't know if you know him. He recused himself. Obviously, he has an interest in this project. He recused himself. Every item said pass, 7-0, 7-0. And I'm gonna forgive me for I'm gonna mispronounce this name. Stephen Graham. Stephen Graham. He recused himself on item 1. It didn't pass 7-0. These are the people you people are approving. You not only lie about when somebody requests the public records, the minutes aren't even honest. We're being lied to on what the minutes are reading. I'm bringing this up because what you're going to vote on here is number 12, item 12 in today's City Commission meeting. The wording between number 12 today and the DAC, a lot of words similar, what they're going to do as far as trees and setback. But what you don't see in today's agenda, this is a related project. Related wants these changes to one flagler. Are you aware of that? Because nowhere in this does it say related
Thank you very much. Thank you.
or one flagler. Thank
Item,
you.
that's all the cards. So item number 7, resolution number 421-19, supporting TPA's approval of the 2045 long-range transportation plan with the removal of State Road 7 and continuing opposition to the construction of the State Road 7 extension, Roebuck Road, and Jog Road. Mr. Kelly.
Good afternoon. Well, the city has been successful over the last 18 months or so in opposing the construction of several roads, and I wanted to go over those because this is relevant to the resolution. These are the roads that threaten our environment as well as the city's water supply. And this started a little over a year ago when the city was successful in overturning a permit for drainage from State Road 7. And then this last summer, the city, because of the factual basis that was provided of the issues associated with the extension of State Road 7, Florida DOT actually withdrew a permit application for the road. And then most recently, we're excited to announce that the TPA has voted to remove State Road 7 from its 2045 long-range plan. So these are all good things, and because of that, at this particular point in time, no further work can be done in regard to State Road 7. It's been completely removed. No dollars can be expended on that road. So this is all great news, but it even gets better because as part of the long-range plan, the work that the city did, Roebuck and Jog Road extensions were also removed or not included in the 2045 long-range plan. Now, these are all successful with our adopted comprehensive plan, so this is something that needed to happen, and we've been very vigilant in opposing these roads, but we need to continue to be to express our continued opposition to these roads, because I don't think that the opposition is going to give up in regard to trying to permit at least State Road 7, if not Roebuck and Jog. So that's why, and this was a suggestion of Commissioner President Lambert, that we bring forward a resolution explicitly stating the city's continued opposition to these roads. And I think it's important that we do publicly state this and make sure that we continue to assure our citizens that we will continue to oppose these roads that have adverse impacts to either the environment or to our drinking water supply. So, but before I go any further, I also like to recognize, and Commissioner Peduzzi is not here today, he showed great leadership in opposing this road before the TPA, as well as Commissioner Nearing strongly, with some very strong language, opposed this road and convinced the other board members on the TPA to vote to exclude State Road 7. So do appreciate that, as well as Commissioner Lambert, who filled in and was very capably represented the city at a couple of the meetings. So I just really wanted to give my sincere appreciation to the commissioners and their serving on the TPA. It's such an important position for the city that you all are active and on that board. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kelly, but I too want to publicly acknowledge the efforts of Commissioner Nearing and Commissioner Peduzzi in his absence, Madam President, for all your hard work, that this has been a long, hard-fought battle, but it is only a victory in the battle and not the ultimate war. And I share your concern that we must remain vigilant. And I know, Commissioner Nearing, you have some information that highlights the need for our continued vigilance as we go forward. But and I think this resolution is designed to assert formally what the city's position is with respect to these roads. So thank you for, Madam President, for bringing this to our attention and making sure we get this on the record. Any questions, discussion? Commissioner Nearing?
I'll just thank you, Mayor. Just briefly mention, and thank you, Mr. Kelly, for all of your work on this issue. I anticipate that at the next TPA meeting, which is occurring on February 20th at 9 a.m., that the long-range plan item that was voted on in December will be brought back. I don't know if you've heard this, Mr. Kelly, but that leadership at the TPA has been polling members to ensure that they understand what their vote meant, and that there was discussion that it may be brought back because a couple of members were missing during that meeting in December. I, of course, when I started to kind of hear this conversation take place at the December meeting, and you were there, Mr. Kelly, mentioned that, out of an abundance of caution, I thought it was a slippery slope that the TPA was heading down if they were going to indeed take that stance. Nonetheless, it is continuing. So I anticipate, while it may not be earmarked on the agenda that comes out prior to the meeting, that some member, perhaps a member who sits on the board from the county, will bring that issue back up, and it may be voted on again. So if that is indeed the case, I would encourage both our residents and whatever commissioners have an opportunity, given their schedule, and of course, Mayor, given your schedule, if you can attend to speak in terms of in public comment, if that indeed is going to happen. But wanted to make you aware, and again, I think you had heard that, Mr. Kelly, but that's really important.
Yes, and we've looked at it from, had our law department as well as our outside counsel look at the process, and they would not be able to, according to a legal opinion we got, be able to actually consider it for action. We fully believe that they'll bring it back up for consideration at a later meeting, but we'll be talking internally to look at making sure that we have the right people there at the meeting to discuss why this is not the environmentally right thing to do, as well as talk about traffic capacity considerations in regard to the western community. So we'll be prepared to do that if necessary at that meeting. Most likely it'll be a later meeting when those type of discussions would occur, but in consideration would be given to a revote. But as I said, according to the legal opinion, they cannot amend the plan without adequate notice and public input, so it will have to be a later meeting before they could do that. But you're absolutely right. They'll be there in regard to trying to bring this back, and I'm sure they'll ask staff to bring forward an amendment to put it back on State Road 7, back on in the plan. So we have to be vigilant, and we'll be ready for that, though.
In light of that, Mr. Kelly, should we encourage citizens to attend the February 20th meeting out of an abundance of caution? Those who might be supportive of our position, what is your recommendation, or do you want to give that some thought?
Well, over the next week or so, I think we would take a look and see whether that's the right meeting or whether a later meeting when it's actually up for consideration would be the right time to bring people. We don't want to have our citizens have to attend multiple meetings, so we'll do that, and we would certainly advertise this and get the word out in plenty of time so people can make arrangements to attend at the appropriate time.
Okay, all right.
In opposition. We know we have a lot of citizens that want to speak against this road, so we would like to give them the opportunity to be there to support the city's position. So.
Very good. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Did you finish your comments? Okay. Did you, Commissioner Schoaf and then Madam President?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to my fellow commissioners, Mayor, for your leadership, and staff for all of your work on this resolution. Certainly something that I'm very supportive of. Just wondering, Mayor, at your permission to maybe do something like a press release on this resolution, and if possible, I know we're not trying to send citizens to meetings until it's an actionable item, but potentially, I know any big item we receive a lot of emails and different communications providing those to our residents of the appropriate TPA board members, et cetera, to at least make sure that we keep this top of mind, make sure that we make sure West Palm Beach's voice is being heard on this issue, providing that information directly to our citizens. If we could look, certainly the mayor's newsletter and all relevant things that we communicate with regularly.
Absolutely. Very, very, very good suggestions, which we had planned to do once we get this resolution passed. Madam President?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to my colleagues and to Mr. Kelly for your efforts on this. I know that you've been doing a lot of work as well to see this through, and my comments were similar to Commissioner Schoaf's about marketing, and I was remembering, I think in the last year or two, that our communications department has created some videos talking about the importance of grassy waters. And as I've been doing outreach to our residents about this issue in particular, I would say overwhelmingly there's support for this, but there are still some residents who are confused about it. And, I would just want to make sure that our residents are as aware as we can help make them be that this is about our water supply, and that's our reason for pushing this forward.
Well, and we do have some educational pieces that we're preparing that we will be able to issue before the February 20th meeting. And we would encourage that if any of you all hear from your residents and they would like us to come and speak to any community meetings or whatever, that we would welcome that opportunity. So.
Great, thank you.
Very good. Any further discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve resolution number 421-19.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? There is none. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. And thank you again, Commissioner Naring, for all your efforts, and Commissioner Peduzzi. Item 8, resolution number 422-19, Loxahatchee River Watershed Restoration Project Collaboration. Mr. Kelly?
That's a mouthful.
Yes.
But, really what we're asking you all today to do is to support our collaborative approach to the Loxahatchee River Restoration project and really a commitment to alternative water resource solutions. The city's been at this for a long time, more than a decade, in regard to this collaborative planning and implementation approach to regional water resource planning. In fact, there was a city resolution back in 2016, it was 279-16, and that resolution actually provided support for a regional planning process and included many facets, and this is just one element of many facets of collaboration that the city is engaged in with other stakeholders to do regional planning for water resources in Central and North Palm Beach County. And that's, we asked at that time that the Army Corps engineers complete the Everglades restoration projects that are underway, complete the repairs to the Herbert Hoover Dike, affect septic tank phase out in parts of the county where it's having adverse impacts, fertilizer ordinance, which we completed, protection of the Lake Worth Lagoon, we asked for that, as well as provision of regional water supply planning, particularly during periods of drought. And then finally, we asked that the Corps would take a collaborative approach in restoration of the Loxahatchee River watershed. So this is that piece of it. And the city really has historically played a very large role in the Loxahatchee River restoration. In fact, the city is the principal purveyor of water supply for the Loxahatchee River during droughts. And this was a tri-party agreement that the city entered into to provide water to support minimum flows and levels in the Loxahatchee River. And the reason why this is so important is that it ends up pushing back against salt water that makes its way up the Loxahatchee River. So we need fresh water to be able to push that interface back and make sure that there's no upset in the delicate balance between the saline and fresh water in the coastal estuary. So we've also participated in numerous planning efforts for restoration of the river, dating back to the North Palm Beach County project, which was before my time, but more recently as a member of the project delivery team, or PDT, which was undertaken by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So we were a big participant in that during the planning process for the restoration of the river. And the Corps implemented this planning process in response, or as mandated by the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan, or the SERP. And this was mandated by Congress, and so that there would be additional water provided to the river during droughts. And they started this process a number of years ago, and it was called the 3x3 process, $3 million to study this over 3 years. And that sounds like a lot of money to study something, but unfortunately, they ran out of money and time. And so, we feel that the plan that they've come up with really has not been completed, and it's not been adequately refined, and that's what we're here today to talk about, an ask of the Army Corps of Engineers to further refine the process. There's concerns by a broad base of stakeholders, and we participate collaboratively with a number of stakeholders, including the county, Indian Trails, as well as the town of Jupiter, a number of other stakeholders that we worked collaboratively with. And there's concerns about the plan as it's been presented by the alternative that was selected by the Corps for restoration, and mainly in regard to the above-ground reservoir at the Mecca site. There's concerns that it could cause flooding, and it's incompatible with the proposed other adjacent land uses. So this broad cross-section of stakeholders believes that there's a better way of doing this that could be more cost-effective, and would provide still provide the benefit to the to the Loxahatchee River, But it would also have added benefits, and this is what we are excited about, because if we do this smartly, we think we can also have added benefit for restoration of the Lake Worth Lagoon, our Lake Worth Lagoon, as well as provide additional regional water supply. So there's some added benefits, we think, if this is done smartly. So we've also been working with the county, as I mentioned, and we want to support them because they've actually conducted an independent feasibility, and they funded this, an independent feasibility study for some alternatives such as what I described that would meet these other objectives. So, you know, we've worked collaboratively with them, and we applaud them for what they've done. So really, what we're asking you today is we want to support the restoration of the Loxahatchee River, but we also request that language be included in the Army Corps of Engineers report that would, for authorization by Congress, that the alternative that they've selected be, that we would be able to continue to refine that alternative that would make it a better, more effective alternative. So we are asking you to do this to support the restoration, but also request that the Army Corps Engineers include language in their authorization to Congress that would support this effort so we can continue on working collaboratively with our stakeholders to find what we feel would be a better solution for restoration.
Okay, very good. Questions, comments? Madam President?
Thank you. Thank you for the research on this and your work on this. You know, I think that it's interesting, or it's really great that this is coming on the heels of the resolution that we just passed protecting grassy waters, because this shows us, whether it's our drinking water supply or for environmental reasons, just the level of importance that grassy waters preserve provides to not only the city, but our surrounding communities as well. And I was curious, you mentioned our other partners in the county, some other areas. Do you know if they're passing or looking to pass similar resolutions as well?
Yes, Indian Trails Improvement District did, as well as the county. So we would be the third. We're encouraging others. We're encouraging Lake Worth Drainage District, as well as the town of Jupiter, and others to participate, because we believe that the strength of this is the fact that we have all the stakeholders pulling in the same direction on this. There's really very little disagreement on what we feel needs to be done. So
That's wonderful.
Excellent. Any other? Well, thank you again, Mr. Kelly, for bringing this to our attention. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion for approval.
Mayor, move approval of resolution number 422-19.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, there are none. Motion carries unanimously.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item 9 is being removed, so item 10. Resolution number 417-19 by the City Commission approving a building improvement facade grant to Taco Tavern LLC, DBA Rocco's Tacos. Mr. Rugg.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commissioners. Happy holidays. Hope you all are doing well. It's good to see you. Christopher Rugg, Director of Economic Development for the City of West Palm Beach, presenting Resolution 41719 for Rocco's Tacos facade. And just so you all are aware, Rocco is in the audience with us. Thanks for being here, Rocco. If there's any questions specific to where we're at with some of the work being done, he's here to and happy to answer those. So just real quick, I'll do a brief overview, get everybody's bearings, get into some of the project details. This project does have a little bit of history with our parklet, so I'll touch on that a little bit. Mention the agreements and the terms as it relates to this facade agreement, and then happy to answer any questions that you all have at the end. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with where Rocco's Tacos is, but it is located on the 200 block. So Clematis Street is pictured Here, with the red line, the City Hall is located just to the east. The Great Lawn is, or I'm sorry, City Hall is located to the west. Great Lawn is located to the east of Rocco's Tacos. The DDA is closer. Drama Works kind of pinpoints it in, and you can see Rocco's is right there on the 200 block.
I can tell you have been working with Mr. Green on your PowerPoint skills.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
And he's also given me some tips on humor, where I heard Rocco's Tacos is, it may be raining tacos here.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Moving on. Okay. So just a brief history on Rocco's Tacos. Yes, the legal name is Tacos Tavern, and Rocco has been on the block for quite a bit of time. Established 2007, part of Big Time Restaurant Group, a significant employer in our city, employing quite a few people. And the restaurant is 4,500 square feet and has recently been one of the restaurants that has experienced the new streetscape on the 200 block, which was a primary reason for a lot of the recent activities that Rocco and Big Time Restaurant Group is pursuing at this location. So just bear with me a moment. I do want to talk a little bit of history about parklets. Because they are tied to this. So parklets are just repurposed parking spaces for people, to just simplify it. And this picture kind of shows that you take a parking space and you repurpose it for some type of seating, whether it's cafe seating, and it's generally open to the public. So this was sort of our first step in reimagining the public spaces around Clematis Street, and subsequently started giving us the ideas of improving the streetscape and widening the sidewalks and things like that. So we did a pilot project back in 2015, 2016 to figure out how these parklets could work in our city. And during that time, we decided that they were very successful and people wanted to see these actually throughout our walkable areas in downtown and Northwood Village. And the regulations were adopted in the spring, and Rocco's began pursuing the parklet construction. This one was actually, this was not the one that they pursued. This was the one that was put into place by the DDA and part of the pilot program. But Rocco was trying to abide by the regulations that we just approved. That same year, we actually approved the streetscape. So that's when Rocco said, okay, well, if you're going to redo the street, then there's no really reason to install these parklets because we're going to have a great street, and pulled back. However, he had already spent significant dollars on the permitting and design of the parklet. So the streetscape was completed this year. It's beautiful, and it's been really encouraged a lot of restaurants to sort of up their game, including Rocco's, which has started and has now planned for a full facade improvement for the restaurant, and part of the work has already been done. So the agreement is pretty straightforward. For the facade improvement, for the awning and the doors is what the funds will be used for. And the capital investment by Rocco will be at least $75,000, although I anticipate that a lot of projects tend to go over the grant amounts when it's all said and done. And as a result, he will have to stay in place at that, which nobody anticipated him leaving anyways, but all of our grants have a mandate of staying in place for at least 5 years in order to be released of any clawbacks of the grant dollars at the end of the day. So with that, I wanted to put this picture up. This was taken actually a couple of weeks ago. So the doors that are in place there that you can see, there's a couple of green lines.
Can you see?
Right here and right here. Those are actually temporary doors. The final doors will be installed in, I believe, January, the end of January coming up. And this awning will also be replaced. However, Rocco is waiting on direction from the city because we will be bringing amended street regulation or street cafe regulations moving forward in the next month or so, and he's just waiting on direction for that. However, some of the work has been done. They had to reinforce the beam that goes across the top in order to put the doors in, and that work was done, I believe, during the streetscape project. So some of the work has been completed. but it has not all been completed just yet. And all of the reimbursement or the grant dollars will be paid as a reimbursement once the project is complete. Happy
Very
to
good.
answer any questions.
Thank you, Rocco, for your investment in our downtown, and hopefully you're realizing a handsome return on that investment. Commissioners, Commissioner Schoaf.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a comment and a question. My first comment is I would be reluctant as a North End commissioner if I didn't hear Northwood Road in your first statement. And so since phase 1 of Parklets is complete downtown, if we could look phase 2 Northwood Road, I know the merchants are really welcoming to having that. Secondly, thank you to Rocco for your investment and being a mainstay staple on Clematis Street. Question on the Parklet program as it was first designed. Was the Parklet program downtown a DDA CRA project, or was it a city economic development project?
The pilot?
Yes.
The pilot was, it started as a DDA program, and then the DDA encouraged the city, and I believe the planning department and the DDA had worked on the pilot, as well as the engineering department, because I know engineering had a lot to say in the design of what went in the right-of-way as well.
So that I understand, it went from pilot program, and then merchants saw success on pilot program and developed, this development money came out of saying, hey, we like the Parklet, we want to do a different type of Parklet that's more permanent, and that's why it's coming out of individual owners' funds instead of a city-initiated fund? Because the $10,000 was out of the pocket of the merchant.
Good evening, Commissioner Ana Maria Ponte, City Urban Designer. It's a bit of a long story. The parklets were basically a test project. DDA, as Chris said, put the money to construct the temporary parklets that were tested to see if people like it or not and everything. When we got good feedback from people, they liked it, the idea of remove certain number of parking spaces and put additional seating. So the city went ahead and drafted regulations of how the private owners could apply to the city to build those spaces. So it was just, we drafted the regulation, the investment and the construction of the parklet was all the private owner.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I think maybe I can unmuddy this whole thing for myself anyway. As far as an exterior facade grant, this is something that economic development would do regardless of the Parklet program, but we're just also demonstrating that this owner has already expended dollars towards their own business. But this is something separate from Parklets we would consider anyway you would bring before this commission.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President.
Thank you, Mayor. And that was along the same line of questioning that I had as well, and I'll just take it to the next step, which is typically we approve grants for new businesses coming to the area or new development, refurbishing an existing building, but that isn't occupied yet. So I actually ran into a longtime business owner on Clematis who was asking about, hey, do you do anything for existing businesses? And I mentioned that this was on the agenda today. So can you just tell us a little bit about the program for existing businesses?
Absolutely. Any business can apply for an economic incentive grant, and it's usually based on capital investment. It's based on job creation. It's based on a slew of other things that we may not even know about. And so a lot of times are taken on a case-by-case basis, but anybody generally can apply for it. And as long as the funds are available, because everything is on a first-come, first-served basis, we generally try to work out some type of agreement that fits, that meets the business's need, but at the same time also achieves other economic development goals for the city.
That's wonderful. And thank you, Rocco, for this investment too. Did I see on the previous slide, Chris, what was the total investment of this project?
The capital investment in the agreement is $75,000 that he has to meet in order for the distribution of the funds.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, move to approve resolution number 417-19.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposition, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rube. Okay, on to item 11. public hearing and second reading of ordinance number 4829-19, a city-initiated request to amend Article 10 Supplemental District Regulations of Chapter 94 Zoning and Land Development Regulations to provide regulations for accessory structures and manufactured utility and tool sheds in the Echo Lake, North Shore, and Westfield neighborhoods.
Mayor and Commissioners, Angela Van, Planning and Zoning Administrator. This item is being requested to be continued until the January 27th, 2020 meeting. Give the time for the North Shore Neighborhood Association to have a meeting on January 14th.
Okay, we need a motion to that effect.
Mayor, I move to continue ordinance number 4829-19 to January 27th, 2020.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. There is none. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 12, public hearing and second reading of ordinance number 4885-19, a city-initiated request for an amendment to the Downtown Master Plan, Section 94-109 definitions, and Section 94-113 landscape and streetscape requirements to introduce additional provisions and clarify certain regulations.
Good evening, Ana Maria Ponte, City Urban Designer. For the record, this is a second reading. There's no changes from the first reading. And just to clarify the comment by the public, this is just a text amendment to minor elements of the DMP regarding streetscape, nothing to do with any related project.
Okay. Questions? Yes, Commissioner Schoaf.
Thank you, Mayor. And we had a concern by the public as well as to the accuracy of the record. And I just want to inquire as to how we might check the accuracy of that record and make sure that it's part of the record of this meeting.
Well, I guess you could look at the, well, Mr. Baptiste, do you want to speak to any of the comments about how accurate the minutes were?
Yes, we think Mr. Makovich is confusing the meetings. The meeting that she's referring where the public came over was the December 11 meeting, the DAC meeting. That was where the one flagger project was on the agenda. The minutes that she was reading that was no public comments were the November 13 meeting that was a month before. So I will get with her and show her the difference on the minutes. I mean, I don't think the minutes for the December 11 are available at this point. They have not been approved by the board yet.
So in your opinion, the minutes referenced in the backup, the November 13, 2019 meetings and the approval of DAC, those were accurate?
Yes, when it says no comments, it was another meeting, it was another project. Okay. I think it's a confusion on the dates of the meeting, yes.
Yes.
To further clarify, the vote, the record of the vote recommended approval by the DAC and by Planning Board is accurate in our agenda today.
For your item, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Discussion? Hearing none?
I do have a comment, Mayor. Thank you. Sure. Sorry. I was just going to make a general comment to the public that if there are concerns that we can look into before the commission meeting, I would welcome, as I would think my colleagues would, an email, as would our staff, to see if we can rectify any information or clarify any information. And so I do welcome that to allow us to get to an answer before this meeting as well. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 4885-19, amending sections 94-109 and 94-113 of the zoning and land development regulations for the downtown master plan area. This motion is based on the factual testimony presented, the staff report, the recommendation of the planning board, and the finding that the amendment complies with the amendment standards found in section 94-32 of the city's zoning and land development regulations.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Let
the clerk read the
Oh, I'm
ordinance.
sorry. This is a ordinance. Yes. Thank you.
Ordinance number 4885-19, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances at Chapter 94, Zoning and Land Development Regulations, Section 94-109, Definitions and Minimum Requirements, and Section 94-113, Landscape and Streetscape Requirements, introducing additional provisions and clarifying certain regulations, providing conflict clause, a codification clause, and a severability clause, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 13. Public hearing and second reading of ordinance number 4881-19 regarding the transfer of the current City Place Master Sign Plan to resolution number 361-19. Public hearing of resolution number 361-19 regarding the major plan development amendment to rescind the current City Place Master Sign Plan and replace it with the amended and restated Rosemary Square City Place CPD Master Sign Plan. Madam Clerk, this is a public hearing, so we need to swear in any witnesses before they speak.
Everyone wishing to speak on item 13, please stand and raise your right hand. Swear the testimony about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Commissioners, I need you to read into the record your disclosures. Commissioner Schoaf?
Thank you, Mayor. As to item 13, I have had ex parte communication with the applicant and their representatives. I have not received written communications, not conducted an investigation, not made a site visit, not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Madam President.
Thank you. As to item number 13, I have had ex parte communications with the applicant and representatives. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit, nor have I received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Commissioner Neary.
Thank you, Mayor. As to item number 13, I have had ex parte communications with the applicant and their representatives. I have not received written communications, have not conducted investigation, have not made a site visit or received expert opinions. I request that all these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Okay, now we could proceed with the, this is second reading though. Any changes?
No, there are no changes.
Okay, and there are no cards. Commissioners, any questions, discussion? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 4881-19, authorizing the transfer of the current City Place Master Sign Plan to resolution 361-19.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number, excuse me, ordinance number 4881-19, and order of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, amending the prior ordinances relating to the City Place Master Sign Plan to consolidate and transfer the signage requirements to a separate resolution, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Commissioner Schoaf.
Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 361-19 regarding the major amendment to create the amended and restated Rosemary Square City Place CPD Master Sign Plan. This motion is based upon the factual testimony presented, the application submitted, the staff report, the recommendation of the Planning Board, and the findings that the amendment is consistent with the comprehensive plan and complies with the standards found in Section 94-32 of the city's zoning and land development regulations.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, like sign. Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Okay. Unless you guys object, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.